Hello, my name is Siena. That's me, jumping into my first TEDx speech 15 months ago when I first talked about banning fracking. I had never given a speech like this before. However, when I found about this horrific process of injecting 600 plus toxic chemicals, some of which are known neurotoxins and carcinogens, into our drinking water, I knew we had to take action. The more I talked about fracking, the more I learned that many people did not even know, believe, or denied that this process is happening in our very own state. The mayor of my own city, for example, denied it. At this point, I became even more determined to spread the word. Just last summer, I traveled to Sacramento to lobby our own state senators and assembly members about the dangers of fracking. Even those who declare themselves as environmentalists did not know much about the topic. And one day, I spoke to members of 13 different offices, about half of which tried to convince me that fracking was a safe practice. I thought about suggesting that they serve fracking water at the next holiday dinner. A lot of their family members would have serious problems after that. I didn't stop there. During this past 15 months, I have spoken at many Democratic clubs and at rallies throughout Southern California, all about the dangers of fracking and what you can do to stop it. Here I am at the San Marcos Democratic Club. And here I am at a rally in front of Governor Brown's office in Los Angeles. This was the time I carried my petition into Governor Brown's office and was told that Governor Brown was not there. I personally thought that he was hiding under his desk. I was also told that the Attorney General no longer serves the public. I thought, then why are we paying your salary? Yet despite these hurdles, I was even more determined than ever to persevere. I then jumped into my next big project, attacking the Keystone XL pipeline. And now, here I am to tell you about the dangers of climate change and what you can do to stop it. As I speak to you, ice caps are melting, sea levels are rising, wildfires and extreme storms are becoming the norm. Why? You ask? Because of what we are doing to our climate. President Obama recently said, someday our children and our children's children will look us in the eye and ask us this: did we do what we could to leave them a cleaner, safer, more stable world? So, I ask you, how are we going to make sure that this happens? Well, first, let's look at some causes of climate change. Number one, greenhouse gases. Fracking is the process of removing oil and natural gas. What many people don't realize is that there's nothing natural about the process, which pumps over 600 toxic chemicals, most of which are known neurotoxins and carcinogens, deep underground, permanently poisoning the water we drink, the food we eat, the air we breathe, and the climate we cannot live without. Natural gas is methane, and methane is 20 times more potent as a greenhouse gas than carbon dioxide. In fact, in a 20-year time frame, methane is up to 105 times worse for the environment than carbon dioxide. It is believed that methane is responsible for nearly a third of all climate warming. And then there's the lovely Keystone XL pipeline, a pipeline that would carry more than 800,000 barrels of toxic tar sands oil every day, 2,000 miles from Canada to the Gulf of Mexico. A pipeline that received a failing grade from the EPA. A pipeline that would cause a catastrophe and cause irreversible damage to our climate. A pipeline that would generate 3 times as much global warming pollution than the production of conventional oil. Now, we all know how much pollution that production causes. I don't think you want 3 times that. This needs to stop. And how about pollution? There's scientific proof that air pollution causes hundreds of thousands of unnecessary cancer deaths each year. Definitely not necessary. Did you know that the carbon dioxide content in the atmosphere alone has grown by more than 20% since 1960? And that the US is responsible for nearly half of all the worldwide carbon emissions from aircraft? How about China? What many of us know is that China has a pollution problem. However, what many of us don't know is that it takes only 5 days for China's pollution to reach the western US. Now, I don't scream about California looking like that. I don't want to have to wear a mask all over the place. We can't let this happen. According to top scientists at NASA, we must bring the atmospheric carbon levels down to 350 parts per million in order to prevent a global warming catastrophe. The problem is, we're already at 400 parts per million and rising. And then there's deforestation, a horrible word, as it takes a deciduous forest 100 years to return to its natural state. We cannot let this happen. Every time a forest that is 100 years or older is cut down, thousands of animals die. Forests that are 100 years or older are called old-growth forests. Many animals can only live in old-growth forests. Now, people think it's great when they plant trees. I mean, it is, but what those people don't know is that it will take at least 100 years for many animals to live in that tree. By that time, those many animals will either be critically endangered or extinct. When tropical forests are cleared and burned, it releases more greenhouse gas than all the world's cars, trucks, ships, buses, trains, and airplanes combined. And we need those tropical forests. They have the medicine that we need to cure diseases. We can't let this happen. Even in the US, energy companies are cutting down southern forests. So you're thinking, why is this happening? Well, clean energy options do exist. Why is the US so far behind when, by 2025, the country of Denmark will rely completely on renewable energy, with Germany not far behind? Why is almost 60% of the energy produced in the US wasted? Because, number one, more people need to know there's a problem, and number two, more people need to take action. And that, folks, is why I'm here today. Because there are no boundaries when it comes to air and water. We all share the same planet. Even if we live on different sides of the earth, we still share the same planet. We need to act together. We need to act as one. 70% of the fresh water in the world is in Antarctica, which is currently losing 36 cubic miles of ice per year. What does this mean? At our current rate, by the year 2050, we will lose 2 out of 3 polar bears, and summer ice could be virtually eliminated between 2070 and 2090. Now, it's bad enough seeing that polar bear look like that. How would you like to see it with no ice to stand on at all? 19 cities have hosted the Winter Olympics. By 2100, only 6 of them will be cold enough to host the games. Okay, now let's all admit that we love watching the Winter Olympics. How would you feel if you couldn't watch that every 4 years? That would be sad, very disappointing. In fact, 70% of the planet's species face extinction by century's end due to global warming if current emissions continue. If the plants and animals that we rely on become extinct, so do we. I don't want to become extinct. Do you? It seems like the oil company CEOs do. So you say, I'm really concerned about this. What can I do? Step 1, educate people. Tell everyone you know. When my own mayor told me at a recent city council meeting that fracking is not happening in California, and in fact it has been for over 50 years, then I knew we had a big problem. Step 2, help fix the problem. After all, we created it. Step 3, truly know and believe that you can make a difference. I may only be one person, you may only be one person, but together we can and we will change the world. For thousands of years, we lived without single-use plastic bags, the ones they use at the grocery stores. Yet now, every year, more than 500 billion plastic bags are distributed, and less than 3% of these are recycled. These bags can take up to 1,000 years to break down, causing the emission of harmful greenhouse gases. Very harmful. Fortunately, people are finally realizing that this has to stop. Finally. To date, more than 150 communities across the US have some sort of anti-bag law, including Los Angeles, the largest city in the country to enforce this type of ban. In fact, one of our own state senators is sponsoring legislation for a statewide ban. So here's your chance. contact your city and state legislators, start your very own petition, and help make this ban a reality in our very own state. After our presentation today, I will have handouts available with a variety of organizations you can contact to see what you can do on local, state, and even national levels. Let's look at Hawaii. By 2030, they will rely 70% on sustainable energy instead of relying 90% on imported oil, as they do now. They have found that a single wind turbine can produce enough energy for hundreds of homes. And with all that water surrounding the islands, they're able to use hydropower for air conditioning needs, and they are converting algae into biodiesel fuel for cars and trucks. In a nutshell, I jumped in, and so can you. I faced much opposition in the past, and I know I shall again in the future. However, this will not deter me. This just makes me even more determined. I am on a mission to stop climate change. Please join me. That's what Just Jump In is all about. The end, and thank you.